going to use some tools, and we will have a look at them as well. We're going to add a little bit of theory in by introducing to expansive learning. And we're going to look at the Planner app. And you've seen the evaluation tool, which you might want to use. But one of the things, the second half of the workshop is going to see how can we use ChatGPT to develop and especially thinking about authentic learning. So it's about learning about the use of the Planner app. It's about ChatGPT. And of course, at the end, you're all going to get another certificate if you answer the questions and do everything. And let's hope it works this time and doesn't make a mess. These components here are really always part and parcel of what Sadie wants to have. CEPIB wants to have, so that people know that when they're coming to do it, what to expect from it. So this is in the teaching and learning component. We can do this face-to-face, or we can do it as we are doing it here, so it's hybrid. These are the people that we are doing. You don't have to have any prior knowledge, and we are working at an authentic learning transformational pedagogy. So in the last session, just to remind us of what we did, we started off by looking at the structure of online courses so that we understood how they were all put together and how it all was coherent and was effective. Then we also started looking at how to use media. And the whole component about media is that it shouldn't just be something that you look at or read or listen or watch. It needs to have some other kinds of interactive afterwards or during. So this is very important for us, that we use the media in a very efficient way, and so integrating it all. And then lastly, we wanted to talk about activity-based collaboration and the context of the relevant learning principles. So one of the things that is interesting, and what Sadie has been doing for a long time, is this expansive learning. So I'm going to leave it on the screen. You make me want to make it a little bigger, so you can read it for yourself. So let's start an interaction where I don't read and talk, but you read this quote from Engstrom. So what is the main thing, the main topic that he's talking about here? Anybody would like to make a comment or put something in the chat.
Can I say? I mean,
Yes.
my sense is that learning is not what we think it is. You know, it's very different from the tidy definition that you give by asking those 4 questions.
So it's all about trying to think about those questions as being important.
Yeah, except that the questions can't be answered simply. I mean, I see people say things in the chat that actually makes a lot of sense. That it's fluid,
Yeah.
learning, continuous, not one-dimensional.
Yeah. So
and to some extent open-ended, so that one hasn't got a preconceived idea of only one possible result, that results may be contested, complex.
Yeah, Alan, the point that there is no competent teacher, notwithstanding what has been said already, I think that also says quite a bit about how learning is carried out and implemented in an institution. And it's not just the teacher. I think one can look at even the institution, much broadly.
yeah.
So it's really it's very complex, but very important. I think it's a very powerful paragraph when you read this. It's quite important, actually.
And I mean, it goes back to the thing that if you are a good teacher, you need to help people to understand, not just to tell them. And so it's also knowing more than who you're teaching. So that's also part of this. So if we look at those 4 questions, Sadie has transformed them into actually 5 questions. So we have a way of thinking about these things. So the first thing is, where do we start? And then what do the learners need to learn? How do we support learners to succeed? And of course, learners here, it can be students. And how do we know if learners have learned? And how do we ensure that we have quality teaching and learning? So these are very important components that Sadie has been using for a long time. Marina, do you want to say something about these items? Because we're going to go and have a look at some of it. You're muted.
Sorry, about these 5 components.
Yes.
I think it's just really to think about it as a framework for designing short learning programs. Obviously, one has to start with context that one is actually working with, thinking about who your target group is, what their profile is, what the planned outcomes are for a particular short learning program. Then number 2, what do the learners need to learn? In this case, they could be the lecturers or other staff involved with supporting, open learning and online learning. What is the actual content, so that one is clear about that. And then how do you support people to learn? That's about how you actually enable learning. And one of our key focuses would be around designing authentic tasks and activities so that people learn by doing. Lots of educational theorists, including Engstrom, who we've just read that quote from, and various others, even going back to Vygotsky and even before Vygotsky, people were saying that you learn best through doing. So that's sort of really the basis for thinking about designing authentic activities and engaging actively in learning, not passively in learning. And then, of course, we move towards how do we assess learning? And again, you know, from the perspective of our planned learning design for these short courses, we would promote the idea of authentic assessment, so having authentic real-life tasks that are complex, open-ended, and actually that speak to the kind of approach that has just been discussed in the above paragraph. And finally, looking at reflecting on what one's learned, because one needs to do something and then also think about it and actually distill the principles or key points, and also reflect on the quality, as if you are a learning designer who has put a course together. How did the course actually go when you implemented? What needs to be changed? What could be strengthened? What worked well? What could be improved, etc. So it's a simple framework for designing it, which can be applied to designing an activity. It can be applied to designing a unit. It can be applied to designing a whole course or a whole program. So it's a basic just a framework.
Thank you,
I don't know
Marilla.
if anybody would like to ask anything or comment.
Yeah, can I ask just the point about why do they learn? It's not captured here in any way, but is there any reason for that? Why do students learn?
That's quite a interesting question.
Deep philosophical question.
It's in the
Can I?
Engstrom.
Yeah.
It's in the Engstrom quote.
Go back
So-
to the quote, Alan. Tony pointed out.
Number 2. I thought Bala asked, why did they learn? Yeah.
Yeah, why?
So it's there, but
Okay,
Doesn't-
so in Engstrom's context, he was always working with not in in a university, but looking in companies. And so the learning that they need to do is to be better workers in their component. And that's why he phrased it, why do they learn? What makes them make the effort? Because if they don't do some effort in the organization, they're not going to be able to actually do the work. So that's one of the things. But the same thing can be said for people who are at universities. They need to learn how to see the world in a way that they can contribute and also think more clearly, not just to have knowledge about a single subject, but about how they can think about other problems. Does that help?
How would you answer that question, Bala? Because I think
Well,
it's an interesting question.
well, I think,
Why
thanks for that, because I think what the context that Alan's given in the workplace, and I'm thinking clearly about the university, you know, and how this has evolved. I think it's changed quite a lot over the years, over the decades. Why do they learn? And I think that's an important thing, you know, for us to understand. You know, we do so many surveys about students' satisfaction and all of that. I'd like to see this question at some point. It'll give us a very good idea, also when we're designing courses as well, to factor that in. Why do students learn? That's actually quite important. I think we'll get a diverse range of responses from that. Maybe depending on whether they have a focused study of program of study, whether it's it's broad-based study, whether it's professional, non-professional, etc. All of that would play a role.
So Ephraim, you want to talk as well?
Ephraim,
Sorry, yeah.
go.
Yeah, yes. I
Show
think,
yourself.
yeah.
Can we
Sorry,
see you, Ephraim?
Yes, I hope you can see me. Yes, I want to strongly believe, to agree with what Bella is saying. It's a very key question to be clear on why something should be learned when you teach, and even when you develop a course. In the 5 Saidi questions, I think that question could be implicit under 2. What do learners need to learn? For one to make that decision, I think you need to have an idea of why they need to learn that. So maybe we might need to make it more explicit, but I think it's implicit in under 2. Why? What do they need to learn? Thank you.
In fact, if I may add, in the elaboration, because this is just almost a schematic representation of those 5 questions. In other documentation where we elaborate on those 5 questions, the purpose is actually already set in question 1, setting the scene, and setting the scene includes the outcomes and it includes the purpose. Why is it important to learn something? And in this particular instance, what we are engaging with here is looking at learning design in order to support a process that individual universities in the Siyaphumelela network will be engaging with, namely the design of short learning programs in various areas of focus that the university engages with. So whether it be, for example, thinking about the first year, and it's all to do, the overall focus is student success. How do we enable student success? So the first year experience is a very important component to sort of setting a foundation for students to be successful. Academic advising is another important aspect of student success. Thinking of how we think about student success holistically rather than in a fragmented or disparate way. All of those are important components. And what the ultimate purpose of this phase of Siyaphumelela is, not the ultimate purpose, but one of the purposes of this phase of Siyaphumelela is to design short learning programs that will support all the institutions in the network to engage in a more systematic way and effective way in these various aspects, be it first year experience, be it an understanding of academic advising, etc., etc. So I think the purpose in our designing of these short learning courses is actually to transform practices in these different areas in institutions in order to support effective student success and increase throughput and hopefully employability, which is the end result of Siyaphumelela, is helping people to succeed in their studies and in their lives after their studies. So I think it's understanding the whole purpose of Siyaphumelela, the whole purpose of these courses, and then the specific purpose of the focus areas that people will be, or topics that people will be selecting to develop short learning courses on.
So if we look at where do we start, and it's here, so it's about outcomes, the focus, and what you learn. And that's part of this component of the first question, where do we start? So in this component part is where you sit down and think about, for example, if you're going to be doing something in your curriculum, there needs to be outcomes as you are learning. So you might want to have a series of things that that have different outcomes, but in the end, the outcomes is what you are wanting people to learn about. And so this is also helping people to think about where we are. So the theory of change is very important because it has a number of components to it. It's knowing, doing, and transforming learning and transforming the institution. So we go from something that you know something, but we also want to go to transforming and changing things. So it is about thinking about how you want to structure. So there are times when you want to teach something in a didactic way, and there are other times that you want to use authentic learning. Of course, we would say that, I would say, I would say that that using authentic learning can include didactic components, but I believe that it is the place where transformation happens. So the question that we want to ask in this is how you can go and see what needs to be learned and how. So here are the kinds of components to this about alignment, sequencing, scaffolding, accurate, up-to-date, relevant, and free of discrimination. The content knowledge presented as changing and debatable rather than fixed and unquestionable, authentic activities or sets of activities across topics and courses, and provide learners with appropriate, complex, integrated, and diverse problems to solve. So this is how you need to think to learn. Then we want to say, how do you support participants to succeed? So it's about the supporting them. So it's being clear that it aligns, that your activities are aligned with the learning pathway and assessment strategies, that the activities are well structured, and sometimes that's a difficult part to do, but we're going to help you think about it with new technologies. And then the learning design motivates students to engage them in meaningful dialogue and not just simple kinds of things, oh, yes or no, but think about it more clearly. And then the design gives them opportunities to think of ways in which they can discuss and collaborate. The text components and visual and other audio multimedia needs to be included. The technology needs to support the communication, collaboration, and mediation. And of course, the last bit was here is learning design provides a range of opportunities for meaningful communication with peers. Then how is it learned?
Can I just interrupt for a second, Alan?
Yep.
Sorry, I'm still sorry. Don't want to take us back, but I'm still thinking about, why the important question that Bala raised about the purpose of learning. And I think the purpose of learning is also directly linked to the target group. Who is learning? Or who do we want to be learning? And in this particular instance, I think we need to be very clear that the courses that we plan to design are for our colleagues. So they're for staff at the university. We are not talking about our students. Of course, these same principles apply to teaching and learning in the classroom for our students as well, or online for our students. But in this instance, the target group are staff at the universities who have to engage, and there might be, learning designers or, the people who come from the various units that work with technology that support learning design. They are our target group in this particular instance. And I just thought it's important to have that, for us to have that in our mind as we think of the learning design, which we hope to implement for the design of the Siyaphumelela short learning programs.
Thank you, Mirela. So
Sorry,
again,
Alan, can I say something?
yes, of course.
I don't want to open up a whole new can of worms now, but I think Mirela, yes, these short learning courses are quite important and they're quite targeted. But I was thinking really about our institutions, and I'm going to keep it very, very brief because I don't want to ambush your presentation. But I think about the universities, especially during the period of the mergers. We found out that a lot of these so-called templates that we use for designing modules and programs, they were either lost or nobody in the last 30 or 40 years had sight of them, and yet they were teaching, So I think what I'm looking here is an opportunity for institutions to also benefit at a much, much broader level than just these short learning courses. So we'll just park that for now, but I think it's got a much, much, much more broader implication for institutions.
And you're quite right, because this process that we are going through is about asking people to create their short learning courses, but it's also going to be used as to lecturers who want to learn about how to teach in other ways than just talking from the front or giving people things just to read. So the same short learning courses will be used for two components. One would be for what we're doing now, and that we will also offer this to any person at any institution who wants to think about how to change their teaching and learning practices. So you are right. I have been on this process since I was at UKZN many, many years ago. And so can we shift the teaching away from didactics to transformative ways of thinking? So what has happened here is then the last one, what is good quality learning, is about you reflecting. So what I would like to just go through is the planner at the moment. So here is the planner. And here are the components of it. So, of course, your short learning course needs to have a title. So if we come then down to where we start, what is the focus area? So you can take the focus areas, and there are 4 of them. That is because of Siyaphumelela. The mode of delivery is campus, hybrid, or remote. The participants, there are lots of them and then you can see that we've also included students in this, and not only the people that are teaching. So you can use this same component for teaching. We have a language here which has all South African languages there. If you wish to have some interaction between home language and if you are able to do that, and then the 3 that we're doing, knowing, doing, and transforming. Is it difficult? So again, basic, intermediate, and complex. We once had a workshop where people were suddenly given that they need to do, what was the software that they were using? I forgot the word now. And so there were many people there that had no idea that they were going to learn a new computer language. So that's why we need to have this. So here is the way in which didactics, what we spoke about last time, the technology and the transformative components. So this helps you think about who is your audience and how are they going to work with this. So
in other words, this is a template, if you like, to help you structure your learning design. And this first component really answers, to some extent, question 1. Where do we start?
So the other component, of course, is understanding what the outcomes that you are going to look for. And you could have an outcomes for 5 or 6 different components, but it is what is the focus? And then you can also have an overview. So that's the first component of the planner. So we come to the second one, is what needs to be learned and how. So here we have put together 3 kinds of ways of interacting. So first is the information about what is this bit that you want to teach them. Here is the activity component that you need to fill in, and you've seen these things because we're using the planner for developing the components, and then there are resources that you can add. So these can also be thought of in other ways, because we also have other components in it. There is an accordion, that there are activities. The activity group is the one that we've just been looking at. The information is this bit. There is the quotation that you've seen. Now here, this presentation, HTML, will only work if you have a Mac, because it's the only process that can turn a PowerPoint kind of thing into HTML. We have reflection, we'll come to that. There's the resources, and there are timelines as well. So there are kinds of ways that we can think. So now the question might come, how to support participants to succeed? And so here is the support, and you can just put into here, you can type whatever you want and say, this is the support. And how will you know what has been learned? So there are 2 kinds of assessment, formative and summative. Now for your component, we changed that slightly because we want you to give us feedback and to get a certificate. And then finally, we want this component that you, with your true and false questions. So when you add this in, you get 5 questions that you need to add into this. And this, you won't be able to see this until you actually export it. And then here is the part, how are you sure about good quality learning? So you can use the evaluator tool to evaluate your work and regularly do, and then make some notes for yourself. So each of the questions has a component in it. And of course, the most important one is what needs to be learned and how. And this is where we can go back to our kinds of information and talk about this. So here is information that we are giving you in the beginning, talking about how to do this. Here are some of the widgets that you can see. So that's the first one, is the information. Here is the activity, the resources, the timeline, there was the timeline, and then the videos. So you have many ways in which to structure the content. So I'm just going to show you some ways of thinking about it, how the interface works with anything. But do you want to ask any questions? Or make comments?
I don't know about everybody else, but I'm seeing a language that I can't read.
So, because that's Latin, and that is text that has just been filled in. And what you need to do is delete that text and write in those boxes.
Oh, I didn't do Latin, so I'm
No,
struggling.
it's just nonsense, because when we put something in, I had a thing, then people were saying, but why do you use this content? So it's nothing here. So in other words, if you wanted to change this to introduction, and then type in something else here to the same thing. So when we go back to our component, let's go and see what happens. So here is expansive learning, and here are the information that was put there. So this is the widget that is part of the component of text that you can go and use. So this bit here was used to create this. Does that help you?
Yeah, no problem.
So it's a template with various components in it. And at the moment, you've just got dummy text just
Okay.
to fill up the spaces. You need to then delete the text and insert your own content. And then it has spaces for adding videos and drop-down menus and so on. But I think, Alan, you should maybe demonstrate it a little bit more in the actual planner template.
Okay.
So, for example, show how the accordion works, etc.
Yeah, okay, we can do that. Cool.
Thanks, Alan. I was just looking at what you've put there. So, for example, videos and so on, and just thinking ahead, because eventually these SLPs are going to end up on Creative Commons. So I'm thinking of things like licensing and so on. So if you put videos there, do we have to make sure that if it's someone else's video, we've got the license to do it, or any sort of guidance on that? Thank you.
So the videos are about YouTube.
Ah, okay. So they should.
So it's a YouTube video that works in that. You just add in the ID of that, and it will then play it.
Okay.
So look, well, we can actually look at it. So let's.
Sorry, Alan. This is still an issue about the license, and Ku is quite correct. So if you are just putting in a link, and Tony, you need to help me here. If you're just putting in a link and you're not actually downloading it, does it have to be Creative Commons? But if you're downloading it and wanting to use it and redistribute it, then it has to be a Creative Commons. And there are ways in which you have to then search for videos that are actually openly licensed. You can't just put a video in, even on YouTube. Not all videos are openly licensed.
But you're quite correct, Marilla. If you just put the YouTube link in your materials, then there's no problems at all, because the student will be sent to that YouTube link and doesn't have to be Creative Commons at all. So it's no problem. I would caution against embedding the video, the whole video, in your materials, because firstly, for the reason that Marilla has stated, that they all have YouTube licenses except the openly licensed ones, and you have to find those separately. And secondly, it makes your materials very large in terms of megabytes.
Okay, so here is the video, and I'm going to, this is actually a real code. I'm going to add it in, and here it is. So it is just YouTube in an iframe. So Tony, does this mean that you can't do this?
This is fine. It will take, when you click on this, it will take the person to YouTube, won't it? Yeah, it takes the person to YouTube. They're watching this via YouTube, which is actually the preferred way, whether we like YouTube or not, because I know it's part of Google, etc. But it is the preferred way because you want your students to be streaming these videos and not really watching them a recorded video that is technically now on their device. So streaming is a much more efficient. Streaming is a much more efficient way. The downside, of course, is that they will use more data, but you know, I don't think this would be particularly an issue here. This is absolutely fine. Putting a video inside, linked to the YouTube, it means that it's fine because it actually streams through YouTube, not technically on your device.
Okay, we happy with this?
Who has a hand up? Oh, no, sorry, it's a thumbs up. Thank you.
Yes. Any other questions? So while we're here, what would you like to do? Because you're going to actually do this yourself in a process. So if you wanted to change this, you could do that, and how you're going to support the students by saying, what can we say, once a week discussion. And you can make it so you have a way of looking at things, and every one of them is the same. All the bits you can do is add things. So for instance, if you want it here in the resources, you need to add the resource in here, and it needs to be an external HTML component that you add in, so that you can put your documents online or use documents that are online and add them in. So it's a fairly easy way to add resources into the different components.
So in other words, that could be like a reading or an article or something like that you want to add to support the learning component, which you want your target group to be able to access as part of your short learning program.
Yes.
So it's just linking in the same way as you link the video. You put in the video link so that they can stream it. You put in links to all the resources.
There's
and
a
just go to the activity for a minute. There's somebody's got their hand up, please.
Yes, thanks. It's Badru. Good morning. I wanted to check what is the main purpose of this section. This session now, are we just learning how to use this platform because we do not have contents, right? So are we supposed to make up contents in order to use this platform? So is it about training on using this platform? Or I'm just trying to understand what the end goal is. Thanks.
Okay, so I will go back here to the end. you will use the Planner app, the evaluation tool, and ChatGPT for homework, and this is what we want you to do. And that's what you will demonstrate to us in the last session. So we are showing you these different things so that you can use them for yourself.
So the idea is that you will use this Planner application for designing your short learning programs. So at the moment, you're being introduced to the tool, to the actual app. And at the end of the session today, after we have finished, because obviously you don't have content at your fingertips at the moment, although there will be an activity in which you'll be asked just to generate a little bit of content and a small activity just so that you can experience using the app. But at the end of today's session, the homework task will be to actually produce a chunk of content for the next session next week. So you'll have time between this week and next week to actually access particular readings, particular content, look for a video, whatever, upload them into the app as part of experiencing how this learning design app actually works. So I hope that's clarified. Bala has a...
Yeah, thank you for that. I just want to follow up on the issue of the license. When it comes to resources, the same would then be a challenge with say journal articles or books or information like that you put on. There could be issues of copyright and permissions. So how do we get over those challenges?
So in your institution, you have the ability to share the documents that are in the repositories with your students, because that's part and parcel why you pay so much money for it. And you can use those documents in here. But there are lots of ways in which you can do content to add to this. I think that if you want to use your own papers, you do have to, you can use not the final one, but the preprint one. So there are many ways of getting around the madness of publication in higher education and the world. By the way, I don't know if you know, but Harvard will not allow any of its members to report in closed journals. They have to be open. So you can get the best stuff from in Harvard, and it is all open. Right. It's the madness of publishing that has driven the world to these really extremes. I mean, Elsevier has many journals, and all they do is put them through a process, and they have no idea what they're putting out there because everything is done by academics, but they claim all the content as theirs. And if you want it open, you're going to pay some more. So I think there is a lot of stuff we can talk about publishing, but that's maybe another time to talk.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so I just want to look at the interface. It's a very simple interface that it comes with. So this is the main interface here. You can have many colors and components, but for Siphumelele, it has to be the gray. So there are a number of components here, and I will show you this in a moment. So the first part is how do you manage your files? So a new document creates a new document. You can save a document. You can open that document. You can export that document to HTML. You can update it to the server, but unfortunately for you, you won't be given the password for that, because this is the way we are going to work. If you do something, we will work together with it, and then I will upload it onto the server, because I don't want playing on the Siyaphumelela thing. The about and the website, the about is what you have seen in the process before, and the website is what I've been showing you here. This is the website that is created once you have filled in everything. So this is all the kinds of ways that you can include in the process. There's the accordion, and the bit that we showed you just now where things open and close is the accordion. The activity group is the 3 components. Information is just text and images or whatever you want to do. Inserting HTML, I don't think you will get that, but this is very important for me and some other components. The quotation, you've seen that. The presentation, this is what the presentation do. The reflection that you can add into it, the resources, timeline, and a video. And that's the component of it. So let's just go back to the planner. I just want to show you that this is the Siyaphumelela look and feel, but if you wanted to do it in something else, you could change this and you could use it in exactly the same way. It's always going to be available. So you can, I mean, some of it is not very nice, but you can choose if you want to. I think that some of these colors are a little over the top, but they come from Google. But this is quite nice if you know, it's all about what you like and what you want to do and how you want to use this. So it's quite easy. So when you come here, you can see that upload to the server has gone. But as soon as I come back to the Siyaphumelela component, you can upload to the server. So you have a palette to do everything in it. And so when you come into something where you can type, you will see that you have a whole range of components that you can use and think about things. So for instance, if you wanted to put, say, an image here, you take the image, and let me just find one. I have no idea what it's going to find. Let me find an image. What is this one? Oh, well, it's this one. So we can put this one in. And there it is. And you can take it out. So you have all this components, ways of thinking about how you can use the planner to support the development of a short learning course, or even a whole curriculum could be done in this way. So now we're going to...
If I may just say, if you look along the top, just click on activity or something, Alan, so that one can see the tools along the top. So you can see it's basically like looking at Word. You can see how to insert bullet points. You can see the H1, H2, H3 has got to do with heading levels, with H1 is the largest heading level, H2 is the second level of heading, H3 is the third level of heading, whether you want to align your text left, right, or center, and so on. So all those, whether you want it bold, whether you want italics, all those tools along the top just help you help you structure your course, and also how to lay it out. Format, sorry, the word I was looking for was format. So it's how to format the actual course using those icons along the top, which are the same kind of thing that you find in your ordinary Word.
Any questions you'd like to ask?
So just drop the activity template a little bit, please, so we can see it properly. So there is the activity template. So you would put in you could delete the word introduction and put the name of your activity there. It might have a different focus. It might not be the introduction. The suggested time, you delete 45 minutes and you put in however long your timing is for this particular activity. It could be a scenario, it could be a case study, it might not be either of those, it might be a reading, it could, whatever you want, whatever content you want the activity to focus on, you would include there, and then a description of what the task actually entails, what do the participants actually have to do, and what the intended outcomes are of this task. So it's literally just a template for setting out your activity.
Thank you, Marilla. Who has asked the thing about pasting text? Yes. But one of the things you need to do to keep the font the same time is when you go into the thing, when you want to use the edit component of whatever you're using, you need to paste it either as text or as matching the text. Otherwise, you're going to get a lot of mess. It's the same thing in Word. If you don't say I am using this very fancy font, and you copy something from somewhere else, it will push that other person, the one that you put into the pasted, to paste it in, it will then bring through all the other things. So the best is always just to paste in the text, or to paste in the text that matches the style that you have put here.
Thanks, Alan. Understood.
Sorry,
Yes.
Alan, I haven't got that. If you are copying text that has a different font,
it will put that font in here. You need to do it as match the font where you are putting it in.
But
even
you see
in
where
Word, you have to do that.
Yes, in Word it gives you the option to use the source text or not, or to use the destination text, or to integrate. I can't remember the exact term that
It's exactly the same thing, because it's Chrome.
In Word.
It's Chrome that you were working in. So if you look at Chrome's edit, you will see all kinds of different ways of pasting.
So when you paste, it gives you the option to keep the source or to merge the formatting.
I don't know what it is on a Windows machine, and the Apple machine, it says paste, and the other one is paste and match style.
So on a non-Mac, it says keep source formatting. So that's the source, or it says merge formatting, which is, in other words, use the source that use the style that you are pasting into.
Yeah.
So you merge formatting.
Yeah. So when you come to graphics, you have to have the graphics on your computer. And what happens with the graphics, it is actually, let's just put, I'm going to put the graphic in here. Where was it?
Hello.
Oopsie. Yes, it didn't work there. What is going on? I don't know. Yes, Tony?
No, it's fine, thanks. I won't add. It's fine.
Let's see, what is this now? I've lost the plot here. Where is this image again? Oh, well, here's another bit. Let's just put that in. Okay, so here is the image inside the component. And what it has done, I will show you that this is the image, and the image is inserted. So right in here is the code of this Apple. So you can take this file and put it anywhere, and the image will always show. Okay, any questions? So we're going to break into the groups that we did before, like last time. And what we want you to do is to look at the scenario that we've asked you to do. So you've been asked to create a short learner module using there's a typo there. There's an L missing. App, and then you need to then develop an about page and a fully online website module. So the app, what we want you to do is to start off with doing the about. So you create the about, and then you can export it and you can show us at the time. So you can use the planner tool to develop the about page, and you can work on your own or you can work together. It's all up to you, and for 50 minutes, and then we'll come back and share your experiences about the planner tool. And we will come around and help you as you play with the tool. Is that okay?
So Alan, you need to put the link to the course website into the app so that people can go, because you have to go onto into the actual course so that you can access this app and work in it.
Here it is.
But you need to put it into the chat so that people can access it.
Yeah, but if you click here, planner app, click on the eye, it will open it for you.
But you sharing, people can't access it from your shared document.
No, it's on the website. It's not an app on the minor machine. It's a website. I'm not understanding what you're asking.
Sorry, and then we were all sent an email with the link to the website together with
yes, so this is the website that you have. So if you
that's
go,
what I'm saying. People have to access the website.
But it's in the chat.
Yeah,
Thank
yes,
you.
put it in the chat.
That's all I was asking, was that
I'm sorry, I was missing under what you were saying. Okay.
So that everyone can access it quickly, it's in the chat.
So you can also do it straight away like this. Okay.
So we're basically breaking into groups according to institutions. And in the case where where there aren't a group of people from one institution, then the people will be put together in one final group. So last time I think we ended up with how many? 4 groups, I think, Ashton?
Yes, 4 groups.
So there's a group, is there a group for DUT today?
No, so we've got a group for UKZN, for UP, for the coaches, and then a general group.
Okay, great.
Okay, and half an hour.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to open
So-
the rooms.
So in your groups, make sure that at least one person has accessed the website, because you're going to be working together and you're going to be working directly on in the app on the website to just experience the use of the actual planner app.
Yes, 4 breakaways.
Right. So each breakaway is going to show us what they did, if they can show us the about. Or do you
So-
want to talk about the process first?
Well, I think each group can show, but I'm sure each group also has some questions and queries
Yep.
to raise and discuss as you go into it. So I think it's an opportunity for people also to ask their questions and share any challenges they had.
Exactly. Yes, cool.
Oh, it's Khadi. Shall we go first and
Oh,
show
sorry.
ours?
Yes. Sorry, Kani. Yes, go.
All right. So I should just go to the share, right? Share screen. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, so we worked together and we first had to decide, well, we just worked systematically down the template. We had to decide on a title, which we call Facilitation Skills in Peer-Assisted Learning. And then we answered where do we start part. Yeah, so we had to discuss a lot. I remember that it was easy for us to already identify that it's student support. And then the mode of delivery we had to come back to after we had to think a little bit about the theory of change, and I think also the difficulty in pedagogy. Then we went and changed it. Initially, we said it's remote. So that was, yeah, it also kind of got us thinking there because everything had to align. Then we put in our outcomes, and the format we used was to say by the end of this course, you should. Then we said we could have a list of things. In this case, we're just sharing knowledge. So we said, know the different types of facilitation strategies. The focus would be on theories of learning and teaching paradigms. With an overview, we just said, just to give an overview of the purpose of the course. Then we came to facilitation skills. Okay, back to the components. This is where it was fun to add components. We toyed around with adding a YouTube link, and we learned that we had to delete the first part. The only glitch we're having is that we mistakenly added these two, and then we can't delete them. They don't want to go away. When I pressed here and I say delete and said, okay, it doesn't want to go away.
Okay,
But we
I'll check
eventually,
that.
yeah, but we
So it's on
successfully
the
added,
video.
yes. But we
Okay.
successfully added a video about what is peer teaching. And then we didn't have time to go through this, but we just spoke about it to say, we think what would be an appropriate, authentic scenario. Maybe a teacher then models the wrong way of conducting tutorials. The task would be for the students to then identify what is wrong, what is right. And then Ashton helped us in terms of saying the outcomes then would have to be by the end of this, now that you've done this task, this is what you should be able to do. Yeah, but that's in a nutshell. But we did also just talk a little bit about things that would have to add under support, assessments, and also the fact we like this part where we can do the evaluation report to get them the certificate, but also talked a little bit about the evaluator tool, and we really think there's value there around us being able to assess where we are in terms of the design. Yeah, I don't know. My teammates will tell me if I missed anything, but that's us. I'll stop sharing.
No, well put. Thank you.
Okay,
Nothing.
thank you.
I can go next. Or you
Yes.
said it in? Thank you. I'll just try to share my screen. Okay, so thank you. First of all, we couldn't finish the entire exercise. As far as so we started off, our title of the course was we thought it's UKZN strategies for supporting student success. It's a hot topic currently, and everyone agreed that we can use that as an example as we are experiencing those initiatives at the moment. And on the where do we start tab, in relation to what is supposed to be addressed there, we thought the focus area, there was a lot of debate that went around this one. I think that's where we spend most of our time. The focus area, because we went back and forth to try and align. Focus area was to present, report, and analyze data. We thought we need to currently understand the status quo of the situation before we can deploy the learnings. And we thought the mode of delivery, hybrid, is preferable. It is something that's working at the moment, and it has a bit of flexibility in it. And we thought the participants, we also spent some time in this tab about the participants, because sometimes you are perplexed between trying to focus on the participant that's going to benefit from the course and actually the designer. So sometimes we made that error to bring in the people who are going to assist in the design to this place, and then we realized it's not correct. Yeah, that back and forth there. So we ended up with academic members, data specialists, institutional planners, and student support staff. Yes, student success support staff. And the language, we had challenges with this functionality here. We were preferably wanting to choose the English and the isiZulu as one of the delivery modes at UKZN, but we couldn't. When you choose isiZulu, and actually when you choose English, it automates isiZulu, isiNdebele for you. So there's a bit of malfunction in that place there. You might want to have a look at it. So we ended up choosing one, which was English, but it automatically brings in isiNdebele. But we weren't preferring to select isiNdebele as the secondary one. We preferred isiZulu. Theory of change, we thought for us it's transforming institution, because we are aiming to, this course is ultimately targeting to transform an institution's success by conducting these strategies. So there was a bit of debate between the transforming institution and the transforming learning, those two theories of change. We thought both of them are relevant, but we felt the most is the transforming institution that was related to this course. And then in the difficulty aspect, we thought there has to be some prior knowledge that the participants need to have, which is a higher education understanding. We thought intermediate, therefore, is a suitable indicator here. And then in pedagogy, we thought transformative, authentic learning is the relevant pedagogy in this case. And we were just in the 2 minutes of time that we had left scrapping around the outcomes. They might not be perfectly placed, but we thought, yeah, those are the outcomes. Learn how to create an inclusive environment, designing classroom environments, up to developing strategies to connect students. We listed a few range of things there. In our 4 key, we thought strategies would be strategies to provide student success. And an overview, we parked this, we didn't know where to place this content. Actually, we were in the discussion also deliberating about the ultimate impact, although there will be no students as the participants, but ultimately this was aimed to impact at improving student success. And the long term was to improve the throughput and graduate rates. And in the short term, it was going to be seen an impact at the post level in terms of pass rates. So we stopped there, and that's how far we could go with the time and the discussions. We didn't pursue the rest. Thank you.
Thank you. You
Oh,
didn't create
one-
the two
The
groups didn't actually go to create the outcome
evaluation.
of the thing. So if you just go to files at the top there, this and drop and then say about, go
Okay.
to about, okay, and it will then download the thing that you can open. So this is the outcome of that, what you have done.
Mm. We also,
Okay.
thank you. We also didn't save it, so we also don't want to lose. Could you help
So,
with
but
that?
you can go back to the planner and save. It's not a problem. I'm just saying that
Okay.
the information is taken from nearly all the whole components with assessment and everything and placed in the about so that people can get an idea of what the short learning course is about.
Thank
Elizabeth?
you. With a hand.
Okay, so let me share.
Thank you.
I'll wait for Ayanda to stop sharing.
Yes, I'll stop
Okay.
sharing. Thanks.
Okay, so for us, is it showing? Okay. Just give me a second. I need to move things around. They are blocking. So we titled our course, Coaching for Student Success. And our focus area was on institutional change. The mode of delivery was hybrid. The participant, we had an issue with selecting our participants because the list was not exhaustive enough. So there were some categories that were missing that we wanted to click, or otherwise, if there was an all option, we could have selected that, but we just put the professional development as one of those participants. In terms of language, the other group already mentioned the issue with the isiNdebele is when you select English, it already also pre-populates. So that was the other issue that we had. And then in terms of theory of change, we said it's doing, and the difficulty is just basic, no prior knowledge is required. And in terms of pedagogy, it's transformative, authentic learning. And what we did was to define what the outcomes were in terms of the course that we want to develop, in terms of coaching, making sure that they understand the generic aims and practices of coaching in Siyaphumelela, gain insight into some of the knowledge gained and generated by coaches within the current Siyaphumelela project, understand some of the highlights and successes of coaching and the emerging impact on its beneficiaries, understand the different roles of coaching in institution. And then our foci is to improve the interaction between coaches and institutional lead. We didn't have enough time to get to our overview. We said to be confirmed. And then we also looked at some other parts, including also removing the assessment if we don't want it to be part of the course itself. And we also went into the save, it saves the course onto your hard drive. And then we also went into the about, and we clicked and looked at that about section. And we also realized that when you click on the about section, if I can go back to the activity, the outcome that you list under the activity where students or the participants are going to be looking at or assessed on, it also reflects on the learnings as part of the outcome on there. And this was our course when we look at it. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think we're going to share now the last group.
So just to make a comment to our group, so the learnings did come out in the last demonstration. We struggled to find our learnings.
Yeah. So I think in our group, our title was Academic Advising Process to Support Student Success. Our focus area was on student support. Mode of delivery, we chose hybrid, and participants was professional development, looking at students, the student success support staff. So you could choose more than one there. Language also, you could choose more than one area. Theory of change, knowing, and you could only choose one. Difficulty was basic. Pedagogy, we could only choose one, which was technology. Since we did say it was hybrid, we said we'll use technology. Outcomes, participants will be able to guide students in the academic advising process. The FOCI is academic advising, looking at theories and implementation. Overview, the short learning course will provide you with skills and how to engage with students. And then we went to file and we went to about to get a look at what it was. And we noticed, you know, some of the headings were slightly different. If you look here, it says about, and on this one, it spoke about the title. And also, if we look at outcomes, FOCI, and overview, we got the outcome, we got the FOCI. There's no overview, although there's learnings. So we don't know where that came from. Formative and summative, we didn't see that anywhere. And where do we fill that in? We got our focus area, all the others came in. So yeah, that's where we were.
If you go back to the planner, go down, just go down to the bottom where you have the stop there. So with it, no, just put the activity there. So there's an outcome, and that's what comes as learning.
Okay. Yeah, this is the learnings.
Yes. So if you
And
go
then
further
I guess
down,
It's just that you're using different vocabulary. So the one place it's called outcomes and then it comes out as learning. So it should be aligned so that you see the same thing.
yeah. But it's the outcome of that activity that's the way I thought about it. So let's just go down a little bit more. More. So here is the support and here is the assessment, and that is also taken into the about.
okay. So yeah, we didn't go all the way down, Alan, with our one.
No, I'm just saying that the about is about looking at it from a high level kind of component and not the actual activities, but it is trying to put together everything.
Yeah. There's a few hands that's up.
Elizabeth?
Oh, I wanted Sue to also show her screen on the about page because she was worried that the overview is not coming through. I saw it, but I think it's a bug. It's on the same line as the LUT on the about. It's on the same line with the last information on the foci on the overview. So it's something that maybe probably on your side, there might be something that was done where you have academic advising, theory and implementation, and then overview ... So it might be, yeah, it's there. Okay, I was just highlighting that, no other.
Okay, so there's the overview. Okay, thank you for finding that.
Somebody else had their hand up.
It was me, Marilla. I was just trying to raise the same point as Elizabeth.
Thank you.
Ephraim?
Thank you, Alan. I just wanted to check if I develop the course not fully, like a quarter way or halfway, and then I publish it. Am I able to go back to the published course and continue to develop it or even edit the course?
Yes, you
At a
have to
later
use
stage.
the save.
I have to use the save. In other words, I have to save the
And
incomplete
open.
course on my desktop.
Yes, so if you go to the planner, you can save and then you can open.
Okay.
So it works just like all things under files, that you can save the file and you can open it again.
Okay. So I shouldn't publish it until I finish developing it.
Oh, you can publish to see what you if you try that and see what happens. The upload to the server. Let me see. It's going to ask you for just click. Let me see. Oh, you have to finish all the stuff first before you do it, and it'll tell you no, you can't do it because it's got a password on it. So what we will want you to do is, if you want us to, when we actually do this, you will send me your saved file, then I can upload it and fix everything.
Okay. Thank you.
So thank you for finding the bugs, because it's very difficult for me to find everything. And so when other people use it, the bugs come through. This is a very new process. Do you want to talk a little bit more about this, or shall we have a 10-minute break? Yes?
Go ahead.
Sorry.
Ga-
Thank you so much. I just want to ask, because I pressed on website. So does that mean that I've published it?
No. Yeah, it is that the website is published, but it's not published via Phumelela.
Oh, okay. But I can just delete that. Is there a way, or it's just done?
As you develop it, it's good to have a look at it all the time, and then you can take that file and put it in your LMS.
Oh, okay.
Or you can send it to me when we want you to do the real thing for. So this is just a way that we would like you to do these, to get used to using this, so that you and the group and I can work together to do it, to finalize the short learning course.
Sorry, Ellen, if I may, is this also how the academic advising, the UFS one, what is done, or is that, because I tried to
No.
click on this, but that's separate? Okay.
No, it's different.
All right.
They have a very different way of working, and they've been doing it for a long time, so it's not the same.
The academic advising course offered by Free State is a course that uses content that has a proprietary license, and therefore cannot be published as an open learning course. So they will not use this particular system. So that is one exception. There's another exception, and that is supplemental learning, which is the short learning program, which is offered by Nelson Mandela University, it's also not available as an open course. It's under license to an American university. So that will also not be published as one of these short learning open courses. So they're the only two exceptions in Siyaphumelela.
Okay, so shall we come back at what? 20 past? Okay.
Yep. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alan, I just want to ask you something, please. Great, I hope that everyone had a chance to grab a cup of tea or coffee or whatever you fancy. Good. Okay, so let me share. Can everybody see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, great. So in the previous activity, we were exploring the use of the learning design template called the Planner, which Alan actually designed and developed as a useful template for to actually use when one is designing a short learning course, or as he said, even an entire module or an entire curriculum, because one can use the same template to design a long program. In this section, what I'd like to do is just demonstrate and talk very briefly, or highlight very briefly, how one can use ChatGPT as a tool for supporting learning design as well. I'm sure there are various other AI tools that could do the same thing and can help you. I've just used ChatGPT. I use the free version. I'm sure that many of the universities subscribe to the premium version, which I'm sure is more sophisticated, but even the free version that is available, I have found very useful as a tool for assisting in designing certain components of modules of learning or units of learning. And particularly for helping one to design authentic activities. I've used it in the past also for designing a scenario which can be used as part of an authentic activity, or as a case study, or for actually structuring the activity itself. I'm sure, I don't know, I assume that many of you will be quite familiar with ChatGPT. And if you haven't used it, you simply need to put ChatGPT into Google and it will open. I think you have to register. It's a simple process of just providing your email address, and then you immediately have access to using ChatGPT, and you insert your questions or prompts, and then it generates answers. I'm sure also those of you who have used it will realize that the quality of what ChatGPT renders depends a lot on the quality of the prompt. So the quality of the input to a large extent determines the quality of the output. And when I first started using ChatGPT, particularly for designing activities, I realized that I had to really refine my questions or prompts to ChatGPT very carefully to get the kind of results that I wanted. And that one actually learns through trial and error. So I would put in a prompt and say, please design a an activity related to academic advising, and then ChatGPT would immediately churn out something, but it would be far too generic. So then I would realize, well, I need to be far more specific in my prompt. And I'd, for example, have to say, well, design an activity, the target group is such and such, focus in particular on peer support. So the more detail and the better refined your prompt is, the better the final result can be. I'm also just cautioning people, and I'm sure this is something that everybody already knows, that ChatGPT will generate useful information, but it still is absolutely imperative that you don't just take anything that ChatGPT produces as correct, factually correct or relevant. You still have to edit it. You still have to engage with the content critically yourself, evaluate the quality of the response that GPT has generated, correct it if necessary, change language if necessary. So it's still, it is very much a tool, but you yourself have to, use that tool in a meaningful way in order to get a quality product. So it does the spade work, if you like, but you as the author still remain responsible for reviewing and editing the content. The other thing about ChatGPT is that it also, when you use it in the production of any material or any publishable documents, it also needs to be properly referenced in the same way as one would reference, an article if you were quoting from an article, etc. So one does need to indicate that you're using open AI and that it's if it's this year's 2024 version, and then to give the actual ChatGPT link, and ideally you should also indicate what the prompt was that you actually used. So below, and I'm not going to open it immediately, I've put an example in of a prompt, or I've indicated how the prompt that I used to get an example of an activity on academic advising, where the focus was in fact on peer advisors. However, before we look at that example, which you can go back to in your own time at any point and reference just for interest's sake, what I thought I would do was actually do a little demonstration. So it'll be interesting to see what actually comes out of how I use ChatGPT. So I've prepared a prompt. I haven't actually activated it, so I have no idea what ChatGPT will provide, but we'll explore together whether what comes out, what GPT generates from my prompt is useful or not. So I'm going to go into ChatGPT because this is something that you will do as part of your, once I've finished my demonstration, activity number 2 is modeled on what is shown in the exemplar above. You will have to generate a prompt to ChatGPT to develop a little scenario for you, and then to develop an activity based on that scenario. So that is what is modeled here, but and the activity is set out here. But before we do that, I'm going to do a quick demonstration. So I'm going to go into ChatGPT now. And it's opened in ChatGPT. So we need to move this a bit. And in preparation for this, for today, I prepared a prompt, which I just typed out in a Word document. And now I'm going to copy and paste the prompt that I prepared. So my prompt is on holistic student success. And I put in two statements. The first statement is, while many universities offer a range of student support services, these are often siloed and disconnected. The second statement is, there is much evidence that to be effective, student support needs to be holistic and integrated. So that, if you like, is the problem statement. Universities offer support services, but in many instances it's not particularly integrated. Research shows it should be integrated. So now here is my prompt for ChatGPT. Use the above problem statement to design an activity which will form part of an online professional development short course for staff in various student support units to become familiar with current student needs and institutional capacities and processes as a first step towards an integrated, holistic approach to student support. So that is my prompt. I've set the problem out at the top, and then I've asked ChatGPT to use this problem statement to design an activity which will form part of an online course, and that actually investigates how one would go about making a more integrated approach. So I have copied it, written it elsewhere in Word, copied it and pasted it in here. And now I'm going to press this and let's see what ChatGPT generates for us. So it's designed an activity called Mapping Student Needs and Institutional Capacity. It has set out an objective for us to enable staff in student support units to gain an understanding of the diverse and interconnected needs of students and assess institutional capacity and processes. This will foster collaboration and lay the foundation for an integrated, holistic approach to student support. So, what do people think of this objective? Given my prompt, is the objective aligned to what I asked it to do? Anybody have a comment on that? I don't know, probably can't see hands, so if somebody else will just direct me, if somebody's got a hand up or anyone can just speak, be quite nice to hear your thoughts on the alignment. No comments? So
it's cool. Yeah, I think it does speak to what you mentioned, because you mentioned things like, siloed and that, there's this problem where well, you didn't use those words, but I mean, the implication was siloed and disconnect. And so in the objective, it's actually saying that, the issue of interconnecting both the needs of students and within the institution, that's quite important. And that's the objective of the activity.
Right. Then it
generates something.
Sorry, I can't hear Alan.
I think, Ermin, do you want to say something?
I was thinking about it. I was just wondering, that second sentence, this will foster collaboration and lay the foundation for an integrated, holistic approach. is that the activity? Does it refer to the activity? Because, so is the point of the activity then also to foster collaboration among the people who are doing the course? Or I was just wondering about that second sentence, kind of where that comes in. Marilla, the second sentence of the objective.
Yes, no, I understand. I'm just rereading my prompt, in which I say use the above problem statement to design an activity which will form part of an online professional development course for staff in various support units to become familiar with current student needs, etc., capacity, etc., as a step towards an integrated, holistic approach to student support. So the assumption is that we are working with a group of staff members from various units at the university, at a given university, and that these people will be learning together. Yes. So I think that is where the idea of fostering collaboration would have come from.
Okay, I found that quite impressive, actually, because it would be great, because you didn't prompt that in particular, and yet it comes out as a kind of an outcome already. Or an objective. Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Correct. Thank you. Thanks. I mean, I can't see hands, so if anybody else wants to speak, please just feel free to speak and interject.
Marilla, Barlow.
Yes. Yes.
Were you to ask for activities? I know chat is very sensitive about what you prompt. If you ask for activities rather than an activity, I wonder what will come out of the mix.
Well, I'm sure if you ask for activities in the plural, it's likely to generate more than one activity. And I think what we're about to see here is that this one, for example, is already divided into components. Although it's one activity, it's got a number of steps.
Yeah, I see that.
So this one has got three components. I'm seeing it now for the first time, like you. So I haven't seen this before. So it's provided an overview. The online professional development activity will be divided into three components. Individual reflection on student needs, collaborative mapping exercise. So it's clearly picking up on this fact that you've got staff from various units who are going to be working together to forge, as it were, or secure a common understanding of the process. And then there's a discussion and an action planning activity. And obviously, I'm just going to skim through this now because we haven't got time to engage in it in great depth, but it was really just to demonstrate that this is a useful tool, because this content can literally then be copied and pasted into your planner and become an activity as part of your course in your planner, if this is the focus of your short learning program. So it provides instructions. Now, for example, here is an example that I would edit. If I copied and pasted this out and you wanted to use it as part of a short learning program that I was designing, I personally shy away from talking about instructional design. You'll notice we continually make reference to learning design. Instructional design still talks quite strongly of the notion of, top down, and also suggests information transmission rather than engagement. So I would turn this probably into guidelines. So that's just the kind of edit that I would engage with. So participants will reflect on the different categories of student needs they have encountered in their own roles. These needs may include academic, financial, emotional, social, health-related concerns. So what it's done quite well here is pick up on the kind of range of issues that are typically picked up when one engages with the whole idea of holistic student support, that one's not only looking at a student from an academic perspective, but holistically as an individual, looking at their context, their financial issues, their emotional health, etc. Using a provided reflection template, participants will categorize these needs considering what types of students, e.g., are they first generation, international, working students, and these different categories of students might need different types of support. What are their key challenges? Is it time management, health, etc., financial support? And then that gives you the outcome and anticipated from this particular process. Participants will identify the wide range of student needs within their area of responsibility, promoting awareness of the diversity and complexity of the student body. So that is the first component of the activity. The second component is this collaborative mapping exercise. And again, instructions are given. Participants will join breakout groups. So, it, not only does it generate the content, it actually generates the format in which the activity has to take place. Each consisting of staff members from different support units. Create a shared student journey map, link student needs, etc. Use an online whiteboard or diagram tool, and then they give you some examples and represent, the state of your support services. The outcome is again given. Then there's a step 3, discussion and action planning. Again, a large group session with breakout groups and so on. So a facilitated discussion that focuses on identifying common gaps, exploring examples of integrated support, proposing short-term actions, gives you the outcome. And then there's some additional notes, etc. So with a fairly simple prompt, it generated quite a useful activity with 3 quite meaningful components. I don't know if anybody would like to comment further on this or have anything further you'd like to add to this particular example.
What would happen, Marilla, if you asked it to do an authentic task?
Well, it would generate this. I had never used the word authentic, but it actually generated an authentic task.
Yeah. But I mean,
if you
asked it to do in your component, in your prompt, yeah.
Yeah, and I said use the above problem statement to design an activity which will form part of a professional development course. I didn't use the word authentic activity, but this is in fact an authentic activity because people are having to sit and actually work together to, particular problems that reflect in their actual working context on the student needs, design an actual mapping, a mapping exercise and start thinking about an action plan. So, I mean, these are all authentic activities. But yes, to ensure that they are grounded and authentic and grounded in real life experience, I think you would be quite wise to, in your actual prompt, use the word, design an authentic activity or an authentic assessment task so that it has real life relevance. Okay, so that was just to generate this example. I don't know if there are any further comments about this example.
Can I ask a question, please, Marilla?
Yes.
So just thinking about the kind of practice that we want to reinforce in Siyaphumelela, and that is always using data to base our discussions on, or our planning. I was just wondering whether it would be, how would you fold data into an activity like this? I mean, say, for instance, would it be possible under your prompts or some way to have some institutional data that would become part of the activity, and maybe not the whole activity, but at least a bit of the activity, so that you reinforce the business of bringing data into it? Because what I find about this activity is the sort of activity that you often see at institutions, but it easily becomes anecdotal, and that people, which can be very useful, to have people sitting from their different areas of expertise. I mean, it's not purely anecdotal. They do talk from their knowledge base and so on about student needs. But I was just wondering whether one could take it a step further already in designing this activity by folding in some of the institutional data, so that people can actually see some data on where student needs appear, which may be a surprise to them. It may not be what they bring from their prior knowledge about their work with students.
No, I mean, I think a very valid point, Amin, and I mean, Siyaphumelela is about, making evidence-based decisions based on data. To be honest, in preparing for this, I didn't think of using, an example with data, but I said I'm more than happy to try and do so in, after this session. I can report back next week, and equally it would be nice for other people in this group to try doing exactly that, and to see to what extent ChatGPT can usefully generate activities or content based on data. So I think it's something that we should definitely explore together. Bala, I see your hand is up.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you. Yeah, I agree with Amin. From our real, experiences with the institutions that we coach, I think they go through this sort of, process or different components of it. And then they try to then, look at how the data plays a role in all of this. And I think the challenge there is when they go that route, they somehow lose their way, because that's where they're busy discussing what data, what type of data, what capacity they require, et cetera, and it does slow down the process. So coming up to this point of acknowledging the siloed approach and all of that's the easy part. But I think when it comes to a real action plan and then using data to support that, I think that slows down the process. That's been my experience.
Well, I think, it might slow down the process, but the point is it's a necessary step.
Yep.
So, I think this would be something interesting that maybe Ashton and I can do a little experiment on before next week, and just see, if we use some data. So to do a similar activity to this, but using some data around, particular student profiles, etc., profile data, and see how, what it generates. So I think that this has to be explored. This is using a tool like this is very open-ended, and I think it depends. I'm not an expert. I've just, I have some experience in using it, and have found it useful. And it's not the be-all and end-all by any stretch of the imagination, but it's, as I keep emphasizing, and as Alan has emphasized in many times we have these tools to use, but it depends how well one can actually use them to generate a quality outcome. So it's just a way of doing some spade work. It doesn't necessarily do everything for you, but we hope that it does save some time and has some use. So I'm now going to go out of this, get out of ChatGPT. I can't see because it's now, my screen is now been covered. Let me try and get out of ChatGPT. I don't know why I can't get out of it. Okay. Am I still sharing my screen?
Yep.
Okay, let me stop the share for a
Okay,
second.
gone.
Okay, I want to go back. Sorry, I want to get back into where we were. Okay. Right. Can people see my screen again?
We can see you.
You can see me. I've stopped sharing again. Thank you. Sorry, I need to share.
And we can look at the titles of the books you read.
Excellent.
There you go. Okay.
Okay, we're back to sharing, hopefully. And so if you'd like to take a quick look at this, I'm not going to spend time on it now, but the example that is here below, I started this, here I chose academic advising, and I put in the same way as I put in a very brief problem statement in the example that I've just demonstrated. I put in a brief description of what academic advising is, sort of the key features of academic advising. So as the subject matter experts in your different fields, whether it's academic advising, whether it's around first year experience, whether it's holistic, because each of your institutions is focusing on one of these areas of student success. So if your area is academic advising, you'll be able to put together a short description of sort of the key features of academic advising, or a brief definition of academic advising. So I put in a brief description. I then also put in a brief description of a first year student, and from my own engagement with Siyaphumelela, and this is something that all of you will be far more familiar with than I am, you have a good idea of the profile of your students. The majority of your students probably come, or possibly come, from quintile 1 to 3 schools. They may come from a rural area. I just made up a brief scenario about a student from UKZN, from a rural area, from a quintile 1 to 3 school. And in fact, in my mind, I actually quite deliberately used the profile of the young man who was chosen as the Achieving the Dream scholar that South Africa, that Siyaphumelela was able to support and send to Achieving the Dream at the beginning of this year. He was in fact from KwaZulu-Natal. He was from a rural area. He had been at a quintile 1 to a school that fell in quintiles 1 to 3. He had never left home prior to going to university. He then was admitted to the University of the Free State, and where he, through various support initiatives, became highly successful. So I had this particular person in my mind, and I briefly gave that description of a rural student. And then the prompt was, using the information provided, create a scenario in which peer advisors are required to analyze the scenario, identify issues, and propose solutions that they may provide to support first generation rural students attending university in a metropolitan area. And that was my prompt, and I'm not going to go through this in any detail, but it provided a scenario analysis, and it gave very specific real-life tasks that a group of peer advisors might engage with. So this is simply for you to read in your own time. Here, what I would like you to engage with now, and I'm just looking at the time because we don't have very much time left. It's 4 minutes. Oh my goodness, we don't have time at all. So I think, Alan, I'm thinking, what do we do? We've only got we're at 11:54. We've only got 4 minutes left of this. I don't want us to spend the time on this activity because, in fact, people are going to have an activity for homework. So how do you think we should proceed? Because I was going to ask you here to also do the same two-step process where you generate some information that would create a scenario for you, and then based on that scenario, ask ChatGPT to design an activity. So it would be, in other words, give you practice in what I have just demonstrated. But I think my demonstration ended up taking up all the time, which had initially been planned for the task.
So maybe we can suggest that the activity and the homework can be done together. Or would you like to work together now? I mean, I don't mind staying on a little later, but I think we should rather stop, and you can still do it in your groups because you should be able to, except perhaps the group that is part of the Ephraim's, sorry, I've lost the thread of the FYE component. You are in different places. So how would you like to do this?
So I mean, this activity would take far too long to engage with now. So I really think that you should rather spend the time discussing the homework task, and then we ask participants, because the homework task is going to ask you to actually design a small component of an actual course using the planner, and that you incorporate a ChatGPT task into this.
I agree with that.
Because otherwise we're going to run over time, and I don't think we can assume that people have more time to spend.
We need to, I mean, 5 minutes or so, but not more than that. I think it's not fair. So what would you like to do? Somebody like to say something or put something in the chat?
Alan, I think we can combine, this together with the homework, and where possible, work with our groups. I think it'd be convenient if people can do that.
No, if you think that's a good thing to do, yes. Or I mean, those who want to do it on their own can also do it on their own.
Yep.
So I think you need to.
It would be nice if you work together. Sorry, Marilla.
No, I was just going to say, I think you need to talk through the activity, the task.
Yeah, no, fair enough. But I just want to get the processes first.
So, Alan, I wonder whether we could make our own combinations. I find it really good to work in a group, but I also feel that I need to wrestle with some of this on my own, because sometimes if you work in a group, then the people who are really good at technology already kind of like tend to do that role because no one wants to sit and wait around for you to catch up. So I just think it's really important that all of us get the opportunity to work with the ChatGPT and the planner and so on for ourselves, and then make contact with our groups, or at a later stage in the week, make contact with the group, and or the group make contact with each other to, you know, to look at what people have come up with or something like that.
So what you're suggesting is that individually you explore so that you can get some insights, and then have a discussion together and maybe create the homework as a single document.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
So
The next question
where people can work in a group, because there's some instances where it won't be easy for people to do that. So obviously where people have to work on their own, they will need to do so.
So the next one is in a week's time.
Next Thursday, same time.
Okay, so we are suggesting that you work on your own, and then you also have an engagement with your group, and to then do the homework that we would like you to do. Is everybody okay with that?
Alan, may I suggest that if people don't have an actual group here in this forum, I mean, they can also work with a colleague from their own institution, even if, I mean, they can lead the process because the participants in this course so far have been introduced to these various tools. But so that you could lead the process, but you could use a colleague at your own institution to conceptualize the activity, or conceptualize, agree on a content that you want to use, etc., for designing a unit of learning, which is the task for next week.
So in this homework, we just are iterating again that the online course is understands how the topics, the learnings, activities, and the assessments are all integrated, as we looked at last time. And we also thought about the media, how media should be integrated, and that it must be explicit mediation rather than just looking at something. The other is the significance of design and implementation of technology-mediated frameworks. Understand the approach to learning design based on activity-based collaboration and contextually relevant learning principles. And then the two tools which we are saying are important, the Planner app and ChatGPT, but also using the evaluation tool, which we did in the first one, to help you think about the components. So we have gone into short learning cards through quite a lot of information, and it is quite dense, and we've exposed you to all kinds of ways of thinking. So the idea is to, while you are trying to use the planner to do something, you think about these components that we have spoken about, and it just needs to be maybe you've started with the activities already to get there about, but we would like you to add 2 authentic tasks to it, and maybe that's where you use the ChatGPT in some way. And then we will you will then present that as a group in the next process. in the next session, and we will have a discussion and constructive, and you can also identify more gremlins in the system so that we can fix it. And then, of course, we want you to be also reflective of what we have done. And that will then complete everything. And let's hope today, if you just go a little lower down, where is it, Marilla? You need to do your certificate of completion by answering giving us feedback on this this engagement today, and then also to answer the questions. Is that okay with everybody?
Yep.
Yep.
So, I mean, what we're doing really is trying to apply what we've covered and the tools we've engaged with over the last 2 weeks and use them to actually design a short chunk of learning, a short module or short unit of learning using these tools, so that it's an authentic activity in which you get to apply what we have discussed over the last 2 weeks.
So the due date is the next, the 19th at 9 o'clock, and you will just bring, I will give you a process then to, each group will show their website that they created through the planner.
Are there any questions? Are there anything in the chat?
The last was the due date, that's all.
So as Koo Parker has said, so learning by doing this activity, yeah. 19th of September. The next workshop is the 19th. So we have a week in which to do this. Right, shall I stop sharing?
Yes. We can see our lovely faces now. Are there any other questions you'd like to ask us? Or comments that we can improve on things? You can always send me emails saying this is not working or what's not working.
Alan, it's cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks. So for the component where we work together in our groups, I'm just wondering the scheduling and us finding a common time, whether it would be worthwhile now just to send us back into our breakaway rooms quickly for 2 minutes so that we can chat amongst ourselves as to when we're going to get together to do the collaborative bit, the homework, but that, where your suggestion was that we actually work in our groups. I'm just trying to figure out, or should we just email each other, or I don't know.
Is Ashton still with us? No?
Yes, I can put you back into the breakaways quick.
I wonder if we just don't want to send. We can go to, there's no problem of going back into a group, but wouldn't it be better if the groups just shared if you shared their emails?
Okay.
Okay, no, that's fine.
Okay, and then you people can have a discussion, or do you want to make a date to talk now?
So there's a UP group, a UKZN group, and what was the third one, Ashton?
Coaches.
Coaches group.
And
And
general.
the FYE.
And then there's the last group of people from different institutions. So do we send out people's emails only according to the groups that they are in? Or do the UP people not know each other on the UKZN? I'm
They
asking.
just said they can meet outside the meeting, so they're quite okay to do it themselves. UKZN, I assume, would be able to do it themselves. The coaches all know each other, so it's the and Ephraim, can you manage the FYE group?
Yes, and we know each other and each other's contacts as well.
So maybe it's the easiest way just for everybody to do it then the easiest way, because the coaches all know each other and the two other institutions are in the same place. So is that okay?
I think that's okay.
Yep, that's fine.
Okay. So thank you, everyone. I hope you enjoyed today. I think we all have learned something. And I think the idea about using technology to help us is always a very good component, because that is mediation. And ChatGPT, everybody's going mad about the AI and how bad it is, but if you twist it to do nice things, it's very nice to get ways to do it. And you don't have to say, oh, it's the end of it. You can, of course, edit what ChatGPT does. And I mean, Marilla always does some fine tuning when she's been working with, what was it, motor mechanics? No, what was the topic?
As part of some course material that Sadie was designing for the advanced diploma in technical vocational teaching, I worked with some subject matter experts from TUT and WITS to develop a module on automotive repair and maintenance. And we use ChatGPT quite a lot to actually design activities. This was for lecturers to do with their students in a hands-on way. So we use ChatGPT for that. But as I said, ChatGPT is useful for some of the spade work, and then one has to adapt it and fine-tune it to one's own actual intended needs, language usage, level, etc. That's another important point, is level. When one's designing, prompting ChatGPT is also quite useful to say, you know, is this a beginner level or is this an advanced level, etc. That will also help you to refine the actual prompt.
So thank you, everyone, for your participation and engagement. I think we've had a nice time today, and we will hopefully not have the complex problems that we had last time with the certificates.
Thanks, Alan.
Thank you.
Thank you, and
Thanks,
goodbye.
Alan. Bye.